this opportunity to let David Burt know what they think of the last 6 years. On Tuesday, 18 February, Bermudians can finally correct the course of our country. It's hard to find something going well for Bermudians in today's Bermuda. And similar to 2012, the Progressive Labour Party government wants us to believe it's all from global forces impacting us. But it's not the California wildfires that tore up our roads, the Brexit vote that destroyed local business, or the rising water temperatures that left classrooms without teachers. No, these are the results of a government that is unwilling to listen, stubbornly believing its own propaganda, and blaming everyone but themselves.
That's right.
The Burt administration says they are making a fairer Bermuda. Well, yes, it is fair. We're all now equally broke. We're all now equally tired of the shameless schemes, manipulations, and denigration. We're all equally frustrated by the hoops and loops of trying to get anything done in Bermuda. Seriously, we're all equally done with this government. It's fair to say it's time for David Burt and his team to stop touching things. The state of Bermuda is a direct consequence of 19 years of Progressive Labour Party rule. Making excuses for them is only driving us deeper into the financial and social hole we find ourselves. As our grandparents told us, when you're in a hole, stop digging. Bermuda simply cannot progress as a country and community when its leaders speak in fear, divide the community, and reject our economic and social realities. David Burt continues to blame others for what ails Bermuda, but he and his party have been in power for most of the last 20 years. He has no one to blame but himself. This election can be more of the same by voting for the tired, old Progressive Labour Party and expecting a different result. Or we can change who we vote for and change our country for the better. But this election is hardly straightforward. With so much going wrong and so many people willing to help, we have more political choices. On the face of it, this is a good thing. The more voices and perspectives in politics, more scrutiny, and ultimately more accountability. However, this comes at a tremendous risk. I will be blunt. Multiple non-PLP candidates in any given constituency will ensure the Burt administration retains its grip on us. If we split the non-PLP vote amongst the OBA, other parties, and independents, we will guarantee the PLP another 4 years to break Bermuda's back. More than 70% of Bermudians do not want another PLP government. If you believe this, the OBA is ready to lead for you, your family, and your friends. So given all the options, why choose the One Bermuda Alliance? Because we kept our promises. Compare us to the PLP. And I mean this, compare us to them. 40 days before an election, the Burt administration becomes suddenly concerned about infrastructure, housing, rising food prices, public transportation, mental health services, environmental protection, and the list goes on and on and on. And they call an election campaign with promises to fix the problems, the millions of problems that they created or oversaw. Re-elect us, they say, and we'll put out the fire we started. Where was this urgency when our community needed it most? The pattern is clear. Neglect the issues until election time, make big promises, win votes, then return to business as usual. We've seen all this before. 20 years of stunning neglect has left us where we are today. Bermuda deserves better than election year fixes. Here's what I promise. Year-round attention to our community's needs. Real, sustainable solutions, not quick fixes.
Yes, sir.
Honest financial management, not accounting tricks.
Yes.
Long-term planning, not election cycle thinking.
Yes, sir.
Action when problems arise, not when votes are needed. The question isn't whether these issues need fixing. Of course they do. The question is, why did it take an election year for David Burt to notice? Ambition. Remember that when you vote. Remember the years of inaction. Remember the sudden election year concern. Remember that real leadership doesn't wait for an election to solve problems. Bermuda's challenges don't operate on an election cycle. neither should our solutions. If you want to learn more about the OBA, please do visit oba.bm to view our full platform, which we launched 6 months ago, even though the PLP has yet to launch theirs. It's like they didn't know there was an election coming. After the last election, we made commitments. We made commitments to have enough candidates to be a national government, to reform our priorities, to be clear about who we are, to be clear about why we exist, to demonstrate those principles, even if it costs us votes, to engage with people in their homes, churches, town halls, and community events, to represent the diversity of Bermuda's opinions, to provide a clear path to success through a lengthy and considered platform. Sorry to beat a dead horse, but again, where is the government party platform? To hold the government to account, we promised. Our legislative opposition has drawn the public's attention to rushed and ill-conceived legislation. Our team has revealed massive consultant fee schemes. Our Attorney General hiring her husband to work for her was only the tip of the iceberg. I am very worried about what we're going to find when we become the government. Our detailed inspections have pointed out how government plans lack basics such as budgets, deadlines, and specific next steps. Our budgetary scrutiny has revealed underspending on critical services such as public health and roads, whilst increased spending on sad little pet projects. We fought for electoral fairness and shone the bright light of transparency on everything from the AG's department paying her husband to new powers being developed by the government to reallocate spending without parliamentary oversight. And we did it with the lowest number of opposition legislators in history, standing up against the supermajority government who are happy to use the reins of power to silence their critics. The OBA promised not to leave your side and to stand firm against the encroaching power of the Byrd administration. The OBA have not left the field. We did not join this battle when it was convenient or when it was clear that the Byrd administration was on its last legs. The OBA have been here since the last election. We'll be here throughout this one, and we'll be here until the very end. The OBA will not retreat no matter what the PLP calls us, no matter how many seats they have, no matter how much money they spend on attack ads, no matter which rumors they spread, no matter how many disgruntled politicians they recruit, no matter how much they despise, reject, and denigrate. The OBA will stand on our principles and fight for our hope that Bermuda works best for all and all work for the best of each other. Quite simply, we're here for you, and we are one Bermuda. That includes those of us temporarily overseas. We commit that within the first year of this government, we will finish what we started by providing for absentee voting for students and others ordinarily resident on the island. So thank you. We'll take questions now.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for your statement, Mr. Richardson. I guess just to start off, in terms of your candidates, so there's 7 seats unfulfilled by OBA candidates. What's your decision on how you intend to address this shortfall, if at all?
Sure, there's no shortfall. The seats are filled on 31 January. That's nomination day. That's when you formally put everyone in their final places. We've just been rolling out people throughout the years. So there is no shortfall. It's just a question of when people have been rolled out.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, the PLP focused a lot on continuity as part of their election campaign. What do you say to this notion that a change in government with so much instability, economically, politically, externally, being potentially disruptive to this country, and what you intend to change?
Yeah, we're already disrupted. I mean, there's already all of these problems. The thing that will allow these problems to persist is if we keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So we have to replace this government.
You mentioned there at the end that you intend to introduce absentee voting. This was an election promise under the 2012 government with OBA leader Mr. Craig Cannonier. Yeah. What can you say to make sure that you will, in fact, enlist in this change?
But we're also going into a very different circumstance than in 2012, although to be fair, there's quite a few problems. It's not as if we're going in with a clean slate and everything's established and we can just pick our social policies that we want to advance. The OBA government in 2012 had a substantial amount of issues to deal with quite urgently, and that included very much the ability to feed people. The economy was tanked. The government had run out of money, couldn't pay the civil servants. So there was a number of issues that had to get dealt with very, very quickly. The difference, obviously, is that it's also a very different OBA. It's a reformed OBA. The 2020 election taught us something. And we sat down and thought long and hard about how it is we manage our affairs and how we undertake our work.
What would you say is the key difference to the 2017 or even 2020 campaign that you ran?
A bigger team, wider consultation, a lot more diversity. That's the kind of thing. It's now I can only speak for myself experiencing the OBA today, the team that's been built. This is a team sport. Every face here has a voice. And that means that there is no such thing as a kiddie table youth wing, for example. Everyone's in. Everyone matters the same.
Yes, sir.
With so many independents now joining the running, as well as we have an FDM that's forming, is this not a disadvantage to you?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, to be blunt, and we've seen this in by-elections where persons have a lot of options. And again, on the face of it, that's fantastic. The problem is that right now, it's going to allow the government to retain power, and so we're looking forward to this election because there's a lot more voices and a lot of us are talking and considering how we're doing things. I can't let too much out of the bag, but it's going to be a fantastic election. I'm looking forward to it.
And just lastly, why aren't independents or FDM candidates choosing you?
You'd have to ask them. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
Sarah from the Gazette. Thanks.
Hi, Sarah.
So a question: if the OBA does make it and wins this election, are you going to be forced to operate under a PLP budget, or have you been preparing for the looming general election with a budget in place?
Well, we have a fantastic shadow finance minister who's somewhere around. And so we started our budgeting evaluation and process some time ago. But with that said, there is a reality going into this that there's not a lot of time left to deal with this budget. But again, this is what happens when you practice disingenuous politics. You then pigeonhole and you're just trying to create drama and problems where there doesn't need to be any. So yes, it's going to be another stress point that we're going to have to deal with, but we're equipped to deal with it, and we have a fantastic team.
Okay, and a lot of emphasis has been put on the corporate income tax under an OBA government. Will you be relying on that?
No.
As much as the bill.
Yeah, we're we've made it quite clear now in our public statements and in our planning that Bermuda can't wait for Bermuda can't depend on miracles. We have to depend on ourselves, on our regular resources, on making decisions, mature and sometimes tough decisions. So no, the corporate income tax, should we receive tax receipts, that's no guarantee, and the amounts, and those will go towards a number of issues, but we're not going to rely on that because we think that would be an over-reliance.
Okay, and you mentioned about absentee voting, and you mentioned a lot about the PLP sort of raising issues as the election comes. This is something I guess the OBA hasn't really mentioned for a while. Are you doing the same as what you're accusing the PLP of?
Mention what?
Absentee voting. This issue has now come to the fore for you.
No, not at all.
As the election
We can roll out some of our folks in our corporate governance. So you'll see on our platform, one of the pillars is corporate governance, and under there's a number of things. We'll note in one of the by-elections, we even went to court. We're trying to be very clear about standards and principles, And even though we didn't include that one line item in that one, because we tried to keep it brief so that it's particularly useful, but behind that is layers and layers of policies.
Okay, and then those candidates that you have on the OBA website currently, are those the ones we're going to expect to see on nomination day, all of those, or are they going to be some drop off?
So those are the rolled out candidates. I'm not anticipating anyone dropping out, but you know, you really can't hold people's feet to the fire. There's family conditions. You know, someone gets in an accident the day before, or their mother is ill and they have to fly overseas. You know, we would never hold that against someone. So our intention is that everyone who's on the website is rolled out and is ready to go.
And you're confident you have a full slate?
Oh, I'm very confident.
Okay,
Thank you, Sarah.
Sorry, just one last question.
Sure.
Would you be willing to take part in a televised live debate with other leaders?
Yes.
All right, team.